Here we are,
Here we are.
discovering and unlocking your brain superpowers, training your brain to work for you, not against you, with brain training. And today we're talking about visualization. It's one of the brain training techniques in the brain type test. And this is actually appears on a lot of the brain types. Visualization is on the author.
Nice.
It's on the defender, the improviser, the guru, the innovator, the revolutionary, the scientist, and the visionary. Wow.
So a lot of stuff. So when you say visionary, first thing that comes to my mind is like your why, or like the thing that drives you. But what would you say the vision is, like, by definition, like visualization? Are you talking about like visualizing where you want to be, or
Bingo.
how does that? Okay.
I already nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
Sweet.
we're done.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Thanks for tuning in. I love that. Yes, we're already done.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So this is all those brain types. This is one of the secret weapons, one of the 6 secret weapons, superpower activation. And visualization is something that a lot of people do understand because it's a pretty common technique. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Today we're going to go over the way that I have listed in it's a video on this one that people click on when they get their brain tech results, and if it's on there, they click it and they go through the video. Most of the videos are 7 minutes or less. Easy techniques. And this one is about imagining in your brain how you want to be or the world you want to live in. So a lot of people talk about manifesting things. And they say, I just thinking about this so much, I finally manifested it, and now it's here and it's real. Well, they just did visualization the whole time. And so I'm going to explain why that works to, quote, manifest things. It's not that a lot of people who are, it's funny because there's the religious people, and especially Christians like us, and then there's people who are maybe other religions, or even go the other extreme of atheist, where there is no God. And all of them talk about the infinite creative intelligence. Perfect description for God.
You're funny.
So they're describing our God, right?
Yeah.
Well, we just happen to know him. And so when you're visualizing and manifesting, you're making it happen with all of your unconscious and conscious actions because you're visualizing it so much. And I'll explain how that works with this.
Very powerful if you really think about it.
Yeah.
The main difference between us and animals is that they can't think, like, there's no forward thinking.
Nope.
And so that's what's so amazing about us, is the fact that we can do that forward thinking.
Bingo. There's no future.
Yeah.
They cannot simulate a future.
Yeah. It's
We
like
can.
life or death, day of.
Yeah, they're only reacting to their environment. That's all they can do.
It's just funny how it can be a hindrance to people. It's futuristic thinking, but it can also be like a huge benefit, like you're talking about with manifesting. But a lot of people today, they use it in a negative way, where they like, what were we talking about? We were talking about like stories, how people make up stories in their head.
Yeah.
And like visualizing something that's going to happen that's bad.
Yeah.
But you're talking about visualizing something that's good. So it's really great to like talk about the other side of how you can use visualization as a positive, not a negative.
Yep. Yeah, and what you're doing is you're training the subconscious, and we've talked about that a lot, and I call it the inner toddler, because it operates on about the level of a 3-year-old, and the information it gets, it only understands images and emotions. So when you're visualizing, you're using images, and you're thinking about how that makes you feel.
Right.
And that's how to visualize properly. So it's all about pictures and emotions. That's it. And so if it's fitness, you're picturing how you look and how you feel in the present tense, as if it has already happened.
Interesting.
So now you're living it in the present, because the subconscious also doesn't understand the difference between reality and imagination. So when I close my eyes and I visualize, I am looking down at my body and seeing how it looks now. It's my dream body, right? And it's happened, and I'm just enjoying it. So that's the fitness perspective of it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's how you want your world to be, how you want your job to be. So you're visualizing those things and then picturing that reality and living in it as if you're there and it's already happened. That's the basic summary cliff notes for visualization. And then the way that you do it is you get into the right state. So you start with breathing. Nice, good, deep breaths to relax yourself, but also get into your alpha state, because it's a certain brainwave pattern that makes you more receptive.
What does that mean? Because
it's just it's a brainwave speed.
Oh, because when I think alpha, I'm like roar,
Yeah.
I don't know, I was thinking something.
Female.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, you're tired? What does that even mean?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm thinking like alpha, beta, but yeah.
It's just deep, steady breathing. It also is going to increase heart rate variability and coherence. And so all those things are going to help you become much more receptive to the images and emotions you're sending to your subconscious. Be more effective. It still works if you don't do all that, but it's better if you do. Mm-hmm. So it's not an excuse, if people say, I don't have time to get in the right state and all this stuff, I'll do visualization tomorrow. No, just do it. Just close your eyes and just start. It's not required. The breathing isn't required. It just helps, okay? It's still effective without it. So anyways, you get into your state, or you just jump into it, and you're concentrating on how you look, if it's fitness, how you feel, if it's health, if it's, for your job or your life, whatever, and thinking of what you do want, and then catching yourself every time a thought comes in of, I don't want to do this. Nope, stop, restart, rewind a little bit, back to when you were thinking of what you do want, and then start from there and go forward. And at first, maybe you'll really suck at that, because some people are better at thinking about what they don't want than what they do want. So you'll get better at it. It's a skill that you get better with practice, and give yourself some slack and know that you're going to suck at this at first.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that in order to change your thought life, it has to be very interactive, where you literally need to, because we think so many different thoughts throughout the day, it's very hard to it's really easy to actually just let yourself slip into this, like you're just listening to yourself instead of like talking to yourself. Mm-hmm. And taking control of your own thoughts, because they'll just come without you even wanting them.
Yeah.
And so your job when you're being more intentional is to, like you're talking about, take that thought and completely turn it around. And so it takes a lot of effort and a lot of practice, and sometimes it can be exhausting. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because at the end of the day, you might have not done a lot of things, but because you're thinking so hard and like turning your thoughts around, you will be tired from doing that. But it's so worth it, because I've actually had to work to do that with just beating myself up. Mm-hmm. And we were actually talking about that before we were on screen, but we were just talking about how when you're beating yourself up, you're constantly just like thinking about how you're manifesting like the terrible things about yourself. Mm-hmm. And so what you do is you just take that thought, you turn it around into a positive thought, and that does take effort, but it's just so worth it. Once you start doing it, it gets easier and easier over time. Mm-hmm. So, it's just really, really good.
It's a skill that you get better at with practice.
But it has to be intentional. You have to start somewhere.
Right. And the more you do it, the more images and emotions you send to your subconscious, your inner toddler, the more it becomes a belief. Yeah. Part of your belief system. And the subconscious, your toddler, is in control of your life. Mm-hmm. And whatever your subconscious believes, it's going to make that thing happen. So if it believes negative things, now you're going to manifest those negative things, because your toddler's going to make sure they happen. If your toddler believes the positive things and the things you're visualizing, it'll make those happen. Now, your conscious brain, prefrontal cortex mainly, doesn't have to believe it. Only your subconscious does. Only your toddler. So you can be visualizing this stuff, and your conscious brain, you can catch yourself saying things like, oh, you can never have that. Well, just stop. Say, well, and just tell your conscious brain, hold on, let me just imagine it. You back off. I can dream. Now you're sending those emotions and images, and your toddler, over time, will believe it. And once your toddler believes it, it'll override your conscious brain, and because the toddler's in control, and the toddler is what, quote, manifests those things. So you're thinking what you do want, and you're doing it in the present tense as if it has already happened. Jesus said this in Mark 11:24. He said, when you do ask for things, believe as if you have already received it.
It's amazing that that's in the Bible.
He knows how we're wired, because he wired us. So that's how. So he gives us secrets here and there. He throws them out there, and he gives us brain hacks 2,000 years ago that we can make really good use of.
Utilize them.
So the frequency of visualization should be daily. So you're just setting aside time. It can be as little as 3 minutes or longer, as long as you want, as long as you're staying on track, which makes it also a form of meditation.
I was just going to ask you that. I was like waiting my turn. I was going to be like, is this like a form of meditation?
Yes. And so it's really good for your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I was like, we've talked about meditation in the past, and I think a lot of people have a hard time focusing on something. But if it's something that you really want, I think it's easier to focus on it if it's something that you really want.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's people, you're trying to tell people to focus on the quiet or something.
Yeah.
Then their mind just goes all over the place. But if you're telling people, hey, focus on what you really want out of your life.
Yep.
It's almost like, it gives you like that ooey gooey feeling inside. Maybe it's just because it's one of my brain hacks. But, I think that it just gives this like wash over feeling of like positivity and like, let's go. And I can do this type of thing, because you're visualizing that it's already yours.
Exactly.
So it's a really good feeling.
Yeah. And some days it's going to be harder than others. It'd be based on the state that you're in.
Yeah.
That's why starting with the breathing is helpful. And then maybe you need to start over. Maybe you're in a really crummy state someday and you get a minute into it and you catch yourself thinking negative too much. Talk to those negative thoughts, give them names, and cast them behind you. And just move forward. And then if it gets, you can't even do that, stop and start over. Start with the breathing again.
Do you think it's a good idea when you're in those moments to ask yourself why you're feeling that way, or why this is happening, or like why you're thinking that thought? Or is that something that kind of goes off on a tangent in a different direction?
It would go off on a tangent, but you can write it down.
Okay.
So have a pad of paper with you to capture thoughts. Just say, why did I have blank thought? And then go back to it later. Or if you just can't get it, shake it, then yeah, sure, stop. And okay, let's go down this rabbit trail then. But don't let that consistently distract you from this, because your toddler does not want to change. And if your toddler feels like you are forcing change, it's going to sabotage you, and it's going to be really sneaky about how it does that. And this is one way that it could do that, to keep you from successfully visualizing every day.
Well, because you're still focusing on the problem at that point, right? When you're asking yourself why. Okay.
Yeah, it gets really creative, but this is one of the ways. So just be aware of that too. But it's especially important to visualize in the last 90 minutes before you go to sleep. And we've talked about why that's important before in other podcasts, but ideally twice a day, morning and evening. But the evening is especially important within 90 minutes of going to sleep. Some people just do it to get to sleep as they're falling asleep. And that's great too, because the brain rehearses what's happened throughout your day twice while you're asleep. And then the last 90 minutes, however, at least a dozen times.
Wow.
It goes over the last 90 minutes a dozen times. So if you're putting really good stuff in there in that last 90 minutes and your visualization, now it turbocharges the technique and it rewires yourself a lot faster.
That's good.
So the slow breathing is a good way to start, to relax, Get yourself in the alpha state. Chin up, eyes closed, and then look up, because that's where you're visualizing, but still with the eyes closed. So just gently. You're not trying to really look up really hard or anything. Up and to the right a little bit. So, and just up a little bit and to the right a little bit. It doesn't have to, you're not straining your eyes to do it, because that's accessing the part of your brain, the visual part of your brain that is constructing things.
Isn't that like the left side is something and then the right side is something?
Yeah, if you're looking at me and we're talking and I'm right-handed and my eyes are open and you ask me a question and I go up like this.
To the right or to the left?
If I go up to my right, your left, I'm making something up. Now, if I'm left-handed, I'll look up here. You can tell if somebody's left-handed. Like interrogators, the FBI, they'll hand somebody a pen and say, hey, I need you to write something down. And then, of course, the person is going to reach with the hand they write with. So they can tell right off the bat which way to, that person's going to be looking. But for most people, we're right-handed, okay? So, and I'm right-handed. So if you ask me a question and I'm going to make something up, I'm going to look up here. If you ask me a question and I'm recalling something that actually happened, that I'm visual, I'm going to look over here. If I'm recalling something that I heard, I'm going to look here. And if I'm making something up that I heard, that I'm going to say I heard, I'm looking over here.
You look to the right when you're making things up?
I look to my right. So I'm looking to your left.
I'm trying to think of like when I'm thinking about things. When I'm trying to recall, I typically... I look up to the right so much. Does that mean I'm a liar?
No.
What does it mean?
And it's not 100% for everybody.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. I was like, man, I look up to the right a lot. Maybe it's when I'm thinking I look up to the right.
Yeah, if you're constructing thoughts, and it's not necessarily lies, if you're constructing thoughts, typically, if you're right-handed, you're going to be looking up to your right, to my left. If you're recalling an image or emotion, you're going to look over here.
Okay.
With audio, it's more straight to the side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. I've heard of people going, like, if you're lying, you look this way. Or if you're whatever. And I'm like...
Yeah. No, see, it's really... Yeah, and it's really... You can get trapped.
Yeah.
If you're only going by one thing, like I always cross my arms. And if somebody only goes by what they learned in 6th grade, the arms crossed means you're defensive and you're being closed off.
I have heard that.
People are going to think I'm defensive and closed off all the time. I do it because I'm comfortable. That's the way I get comfortable. And so you can misread these things. It's not... These things aren't always for everybody in every case.
Yeah.
And it's really dangerous if you know half a dozen of them, because there's a lot more than that. And you're really looking for clusters, things that are going together to figure out, what's, if you're an FBI interrogator, they're looking for clusters. And their brain knows 300 of these things. And they can look for the clusters with those 300 that they... So, yeah, they're really good at it. But... people like us that know only a few we're dangerous.
Yeah.
And then we're getting in fights with people and they're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Because we thought they were lying to us or whatever.
It's so funny that you say that, because I've literally gotten in conversations with people when they start to cross their arms. I'm like, oh, they're done. They are done. They don't want to talk anymore. They're all like, they're done. They're closed off, or like they don't believe what I'm saying. Or if they lean back like this, and cross their arms, I'm like, they're no longer engaged in what I'm saying.
Yeah, see, it's dangerous to make assumptions like that.
Yeah, because I'm the queen of assumptions. But
well, we all are.
Yes, and so I'm like, wait, what are you doing? Why are you, leaving the conversation? They're like, I'm literally still listening to you. I'm like, no, you're not. You're lying at this point. You're looking up to the left.
You did the one thing I know.
You're looking to the left.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's hilarious.
So
I will no longer do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see.
So you're visualizing with pictures, but you're also concentrating on how you feel. How does that make you feel? Because now you're just, any image in motion that you can drive back is going to drive it deeper into your toddler, and you do it enough, and then they take over and they go, okay, this is who we are. And then never any negative emotions. It's always positive emotions. And negative emotions will also drive it into the subconscious, but the positive emotions will make the subconscious want it and remember it and want it, instead of remember it and be repulsed, or you want to go away from it. So one of those emotions can be jealousy. So a good example of this is let's say I'm overweight, and 6 months from now is my 20-year class reunion, and I want to be in really great shape. So I know that visualization is going to help me get there. So I'm going to visualize how I look right now in the present tense. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And how I feel and all those kinds of stuff. And then I'm going to go into this little tangent where, so-and-so is going to be so jealous of me. It's going to feel so good. That's just so jealous of me. Nope.
Like a negative
That's
emotion.
a negative
creeping.
emotion.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
you're like avoiding any negativity or feelings of, even if it's placed on other people.
Bingo.
Interesting.
Yeah, for this to work properly, because you're also training your water molecules in your body. And when you're focusing on negative emotions, that's affecting your water molecules, and it's less healthy. So now if you're trying to visualize health and fitness, you're sabotaging yourself without even really knowing it. And then once the subconscious believes that's already you, now it's easier to get to your goals. And there's going to be less struggles, less sabotage. It's going to be easier to eat right. It's going to be easier to go get exercise because your subconscious is controlling you. It always will. It always has. It always will. And so we're learning how to train it and work with it.
Nice.
And then once you've done this enough, when the subconscious adopts it and believes it, then you can get stuck that way. Because, we've talked in the past in podcasts, I am stuck 365 days a year between 7 and 9% body fat. I'm stuck that way.
You are?
Mm-hmm. And
it's pretty incredible, friend.
It's easy to stay in that range because my subconscious, that's my identity.
It's amazing.
And so it's easy to stay on track with my nutrition. It's easy to stay on track with my exercise because it's who I am. So this helps you get to a certain point and then stay there.
That's key. Because a lot of people yo-yo. Mm-hmm. They go back and forth and back and forth, and they don't really stay consistent.
Right.
And I think that is 100% me, where I'm like finally super excited because I'm where I want to be, but I'm not exactly where I want to be. I'm closer to where I want to be, not exactly, but I definitely have like bounced around and never felt like I got a really good handle on what I really want and being stuck there. So it's so cool that you've achieved that, but it's because you've taken really consistent and intentional effort on not just your body and like focusing on your physical appearance and all that stuff. You've also focused on your brain health and your mental health and actually practicing all these brain hacks that you're teaching.
Right.
So that's what's really cool, is you're a wonderful example of all the stuff that you're talking about. And so it's proof that it works because you're stuck at where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And it's just good because it's nice to have that as like someone that's actually been there, done that. Yeah. And then is showing it the way to get there,
right. And it's a rewiring process. Yeah. So the toddler does the rewiring. Uh-huh. But the PFC, we call that the parent brain, trains the toddler. Mm-hmm. The PFC isn't going to rewire you for anything. Mm-hmm. The toddler's doing all that. And it's doing it 24 hours a day. The PFC goes on and offline and gets tired in the evening and all that kind of stuff. So we can't really depend on that. Toddler's always just plugging away. Toddler never wears out. That's wild. So our job is, as the parent brain, to control what's going in to the toddler and then let the toddler do the wiring. And then consciously doing this is using our PFC to do it, to drive those images and emotions into our subconscious, the toddler. So then toddler eventually takes over, gets us to where we want to go, and then we're stuck that way.
So my question to you, and I know it's different for everybody, like everyone's going to have a different span of time of how long it takes, especially if it's like more deep rooted and things like that. But how long do you feel like, or do you know how long it took you to get to the point where you were really satisfied with where you were at and got stuck there? How long do you feel like that took you, or do you even know?
See, if I knew at the start how to do it with these brain type, brain training techniques, it would have taken me probably a month to train my toddler. And since health and fitness takes a while, 6 to 8 months to get there. Because I was never far off.
That's because you took care of your body really consistently. Yeah.
And then another 6 months to get stuck.
Which is like not that long if you really think about it.
I mean, if what's the average lifespan? So
let's hope it gets the
1 year. That's not much time.
No. Mm-mm.
But if you're really diligent with these brain training techniques, it will take less than that.
Yeah.
You're going to have bad days where you don't want to do it, and bad days where you do it and you suck at it. But you're just doing it.
Do you think it's effective to also, because this like combines two of the brain types, but when you're a visualization person, do you think it's good to not just visualize, but to write down what you were visualizing?
Sure.
Do you think that's a good move?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it helps you get clarity, do whatever you can. So, one of your superpowers is writing stuff down. And so that would be a great idea for you.
Why do you think I asked that question? It's about me. Just kidding.
Yeah. Just, if it helps drive it in there and it helps give you the clarity and the structure for your visualization sessions, sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah, so, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. But the way that I've structured the brain training techniques makes it easier than anything else I've discovered. So that's why people get there so much faster with the brain type test and their superpower hacks than without it.
It's really interesting.
It is interesting.
All of it's interesting. Everything we do is interesting. Everything we talk about is interesting. It's all interesting.
Interesting life. It's good. Nice. Boom.
Goes the dynamite.